Welcome to the Rapport Advantage Podcast, transforming the way leaders communicate. Here's your host, Alex Swire-Clark.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Liz. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
The sun is shining after all this cold and rain. So,
I know.
And speaking of clouds, we're going to have that as part of our Disc Thaw of the Day. Spoiler alert.
Uh-oh.
Welcome to the Rapport Advantage Podcast, everyone. Glad to have you with us today. If you haven't listened to our podcast before, we are here to help you break down the walls of miscommunication, increase your emotional intelligence, and build better relationships in the workplace and beyond.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I am Alex Swire-Clark, CEO, speaker, and certified human behavior expert.
And I'm Liz Parker, certified behavioral analyst, strategic growth consultant, job benchmarking whiz, and latest and greatest Vistage chair in the Greenville area.
Doing a phenomenal job with that. She's got a meet and greet coming up soon. I'm sure she'll tell you about that before the podcast is over with. Again, this show is all about you, and all you other listeners out there. Give us your feedback and your input. Find us on Facebook at The Rapport Advantage, on Twitter at Rapport Podcast, or visit our website at rapportadvantage.com. You can leave a digital message through our SpeakPipe app. Lots of different ways to get a hold of both Liz and I. Our Disc Thaw of the Day, Liz.
I am not ready.
When I pick them out, I don't have to answer them. So this is great. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. So
Yes.
So Liz is in the catbird seat again today, and she's going to do phenomenally well, reaching all the way back before this great country was founded. Anyway, our Disc Thaw of the Day, as we often do, if you're new to the show, we will throw out a quote and try to get someone to guess who it was by, and then maybe who the audience is or from what perspective they were speaking, and try to determine those kind of things. So, easy one for today, Liz. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud.
A rainbow in someone's cloud. So I got to start by breaking it down. So rainbow in someone's cloud seems very high eye-like, very optimistic, looking at the positive side. So it's got to be someone who's an optimist.
Agree.
Kermit the Frog comes right to mind. Is it Kermit?
It's not Kermit the Frog.
All right.
But good guess, though.
Then you said early in our history, I heard you say that earlier.
Yes,
so
but that was a terrible hint because I was trying to throw you off track.
It worked.
Which was mean.
All right, so a high eye. So do I get some help on, were they a president? Were they a political figure? Are they somebody famous? Or is it somebody I know?
Someone you know.
Oh, someone I know.
She's a poet lady on the literature side of things. Has spoken at graduation functions in the past.
Oprah, my favorite?
Not Oprah, but you're getting closer. You're getting closer.
Maya Angelou.
Ding, 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 ding,
Oh, I got it with only like 5 tries.
Yes, very good. So, Maya Angelou, this quote came from, try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud.
Oh, man, I can't believe I got that. Thank you for the hints.
Isn't that sweet?
It is, but it could be Kermit, too.
It could be Kermit and Fozzie.
Thank you very much for letting me play.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, Maya Angelou has inspirational thoughts. There are tons of inspirational quotes from Ms. Angelou on brainyquote.com, which is a good place to find things every now and then. And from that perspective, I see her in that high S role here, trying to support others, try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud because they may be having a bad day. So try to be empathetic and try to cheer up others.
Oh, that's how you went with that because you're IS and you went with both of those.
That's
okay,
right.
That's very good. I'm the true I going, it's all about me. So what are we talking about today, Alex?
We are talking about clouds, rainbows, and trying to flush out a little bit more from this job benchmarking and matching that we did a couple weeks back on another episode, in that we're going to talk about today, just in general terms, what style fit what roles in companies or just in the general population. So we're going to give you some examples of, let's say, some jobs and or career paths that a D might take and how that translate into the workplace, into the private sector. But these may be non-private sector kinds of jobs. So, for example, like an actor or a teacher or something like that. And we're going to try to let you see as a hiring person in HR or as a CEO who's looking at a resume if they have experience in this area, then it's going to translate to this personality style and be able to match them better when you start doing your job matching.
And I suppose that we're going to use the disclaimer that anyone can do any job. It's just that we do have styles that gravitate towards certain positions and certain roles more than others, right? We are putting that disclaimer in.
Disclaimer, yes. Check our website out for anything that has to do with lawyers or other things like that, because things will explode if you don't. So, but yes, and again, as always, if you're a high I, low C, and you're dealing with spreadsheets and you have to adapt, doesn't mean you can't do it. Just means that you have to work a little bit harder to increase your C for that particular task.
Yes. Okay.
So let's start with our Ds, shall we?
Let's. I love starting with the Ds.
So Ds, typically, when we talk to our groups, Vistage, who I speak to a lot of times, and other folks in the C-suite, a lot of entrepreneurs are Ds.
A lot of business owners, entrepreneurs.
And again, we're talking about 10% of the population is the general rule that we say for our Ds in the population. So not a lot of Ds out there when it comes to the general population, and that's why you don't see a lot of entrepreneurs who are risk takers and go out there and do those kind of things. And so people tend to feel more secure in a job versus an entrepreneurial role. So anyway.
Definitely.
So developers, developers of software, developers of different new procedures, new products, those kind of things. They're all about those big ideas.
Innovative.
Exactly. So they get that concept, and let me hand it to a C, because they can figure out how to fix it and make it happen. So what about this? If we could only do this, or if we just set up these gas stations every 5 miles and add these electrical things, we could get the electrical car market in there. If we use magnets, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, you just lost me at magnets.
Yeah, they see that big picture in the future.
They do. That 25,000-foot view, they've got it under control.
So we're talking about then people like sales managers or sales directors, visionary salespeople that are out there kind of going, I see this new market developing. Where can we go with that? So you might find that you've got to allow those guys to try out their wings and see what other markets are out there. So it could be people like that. And you in itself, as you look at kind of motivational speaking, tell me about how you see Ds being that.
Yeah, Ds are good motivators. They pull, prod, push people along to get to where they're going. As a sales manager, you mentioned a minute ago, it's a great example. They are, as a manager, are probably going to know the tips and tricks. They probably came from a good sales background anyway and got promoted to that management position.
True.
So they know the things that it takes to get the job done, and they can push those people forward and say, hey, come along. Here's what I've done. Let's go. We can do it. So they can be a good cheerleader and motivator that way.
Yep, definitely. So how about foremen? When we've looked at who we are out there in the workplace, you've got to have somebody who leads the construction group.
Yeah, any kind of business or industry. And basically, a foreman is there to make decisions.
Yes.
And so when you've got folks that are working with him or her and for him or her, they're looking to him or her to make a decision. Okay, Chief, we got to do something over here. I've only got 12 rivets. We need 13. Do you want me to go buy some? Do we need to change this one around? Whatever. Make a decision. They've got to be able to do that on the fly. Take the data, boom, and then go. And then make a decision, be held accountable for it.
Great. Okay.
And one of my favorite ones is the one down here at the bottom, which is drill instructors. If you've seen any of those movies, the Geico commercial, well, guys, get in your face like this. We got to go. We got to move around now. So drill instructors make for good Ds, and God bless them. If without them, we wouldn't have the top-notch military folks that we have out there.
That's true. That is true. But that is a wonderful image to have in your brain to remember that.
Indeed. So now for Ds, there are certain roles that aren't really great for them. And so we talk about job benchmarking and putting people in the right role, but we want to make sure we don't put them in the wrong role. And so we definitely don't want them in anything that's touchy-feely. Not a lot of hand-holding going on. No kumbaya. I mean, they're not happening with that.
No, in fact, I got a story on that one because when I was in the hospital when I was younger, I had a D nurse, and oh my gosh, that nurse was like brutal. It was just like no real caring. It was just like, come on, get out of bed now. It's like, I can't. I've got 2 broken legs.
You are going to get better. You will get better now. Shazam! Not really, but your bedside manner is just so wonderful. Wrong.
Oh.
So not a lot of empathy there, which is our next word there. So you got to have jobs that don't require a lot of empathy if you're a high D, and they're typically not going to be very inclusive of others. They kind of get in that zone and they go, go, go. And if you can't keep up, phew, they've left you in the
Yeah,
dust.
they're actually happier sometimes if you leave them alone so they can actually do it at their own speed.
That's correct. That's correct.
Good.
All right, so those are our D's. Let's go to our I's then.
Oh, of course, because we love the eyes since it's all about us.
Whoop, whoop. That's all about us.
So first one on the list is
Broadcasters. Whether you're talking about being in the TV genre, we're talking about as a podcaster, radio. We like expressing our ideas and our thoughts, and this is a perfect medium to do that. When you look at Bob Barker, was a tremendous entertainer, and just always had the next kind of clever quote to come out, really quick thinker, and interacted with the audience and the folks who were on the stage with him. So he was perfect for that.
So that leads right into entertainers, because we know that anybody who's got a little drama queen in them, they are definitely the entertainers, and they may find that at the office even. If you think about that, you might see some people like over in the corner doing a whole big bunch of drama. You'll know it's a high I.
Oh yeah, they're out there showing off at the coffee pot. They're going, "Oh, look at this! I can, you're like stupid human tricks." I mean, they're always leading that kind of thing too. Yeah. Can you lick your elbow? Are you double joining your thumb? Oh, look, I can twist behind my back. Yeah. So they make we talked about speakers earlier. They also make great folks in sales as well.
Yes.
Because they have that whole people personality ability to connect with others really well. And as teachers, they can be very inspiring. One of the things they have to be mindful of, though, is that they're not going to reach everyone with that high, outgoing, energetic style. Some people need you to kind of take that breath for a minute and not always be throwing marshmallows or whatever else. You got to give those C's and those D's the reasons why. Give me some what's and some whys to make sure you got buy-in. Definitely.
And if you look at your career, speaker and teacher, that's kind of what you're doing and you were all about.
That's true. I spent 8 years in the classroom, loved my sixth graders, taught everything except language arts, including band. So it was a great time. And now, transition that to a CEO role where I'm trying to inspire others in our company to provide the best services we can for our clients. And now on the speaking circuit, working with others, trying to motivate them to improve their relationships and what's meaningful in their lives.
So this is all about you, and it works perfectly. I love it.
You're the one that prodded me to that.
I love it. It is all about you. That's important.
Busted.
Thank you. Fine. You're right.
Okay, so they're not organized.
That's right.
We don't want to go there.
No, do not want eyes in organizing roles. So trying to get people to alphabetize or what makes logical sense from storage or whatever, just not going to happen.
And again, this is the pure style because
Correct.
People can be a mix of things. So we want to just be clear that this is the pure style of an eye, and they are not organized and they're not research oriented.
Yes, please put your C's on anything we have to say. Okay, let's get on Google and let's find out ways that we can increase or decrease the efficiency of this process or make this better, because they're going to be, there's a video about cats, and then they're done. It's just definitely an epic fail there.
So, and we don't like to be left alone. So today, because normally we are alone in our own spaces, today I came to Alex's place to actually do this together. So it's been very exciting. It might be a longer podcast because we can see each other so well.
This is true. Normally we are isolated, and today we're at the office and we're recording this live. So we're hoping that the tech's going to work out and everything's going to be good. So, but yeah, we enjoy being around each other. And after this, we're going to have some lunch and it'll be fun.
That's right, because we had to make it entertaining in addition.
That's right.
So anyway, on to the S.
The S's, yes. S's obviously are caring of others. So you're going to find careers that match that. Social worker is definitely one of those.
Yeah, definitely.
Always trying to make sure that they're looking out and being benefactors for others who can't necessarily do that for themselves.
And as well, I'm going to jump right on HR, because social workers, if you look at the public sector, but in a business, HR acts as that social worker. So they kind of come in and take care of those people and do the similar traits.
That's right. There are people advocates within the organization for sure. The secretary receptionist is a wonderful place to have your S's. Those typically are the voice or the face of your company when people come in, and those folks who are caring, smiling, warm, welcoming, man, they just make for the best first impression. And, oh man, you're Nancy out the front desk. She's awesome. Yes, she is. Don't try to steal her. That kind of thing.
That's right. And the other area is being a pastor.
That's right.
If you think about how pastors are and you think about pulling the congregation together, how they want to be part of the team and get the team to move together and inspire them together, they do a really beautiful job of that.
Shepherding their flock.
Shepherding.
Oh.
Lovely. Oh.
And corporate, that kind of translates to your culture officer and trying to facilitate what is the culture we want to, uphold, put in place, keep up with. And so from that positivity side of things and that warm and welcoming, and this is going to be a great place to work for, sites like Glassdoor who, do surveys of your employees and things like that. Having someone in charge of that is a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Well, and my last experience, again, I can go back to the hospital, is talking about the nurse. Now, thank goodness when the D nurse left, I did get an S nurse who'd come in and go, "Oh, what do you need today? Hold your hand," would be there. I had one that was there. They had to put a rod through my leg after a car accident.
Ugh.
And so the nurse sat right there with me as holding my hand as I went right through it. Now, that big old D nurse was the one shoving the rod through my leg.
Get out of bed. You gotta eat right now. Okay.
So they're both valuable, but I did like the S nurse a little bit better.
Yes. I had when I broke my femur as a fourth grader. I had I was in a body cast for 3 months.
Oh.
Yeah, it was pretty traumatic.
Oh, my.
And then I got out, and so there was atrophy to my muscles in my leg, and so I had to go to PT. And I had that one nurse who, just like you, was like, "Okay, we can do it," and we do small little movements. And then I had whatever. Let's come in and let's get something done today. And I'm like, okay, just take it easy. And then, and I couldn't even move my leg like 15 degrees. And she went from 15 degrees to 90.
Oh,
and
ow.
I was like, are you? Ah!
You were a little kid. You weren't going to say those words.
I would probably said, ow, that hurt badly.
Darn.
Dang it. Mom, help. Probably what I was thinking was, get away from me.
So we really don't want people that, in this case, the S's, they wouldn't be good in roles that are out in front where they were the center of attention. They don't like being out there.
That's right. They also don't like to be necessarily multitaskers. Give them one or two things to do. They can do over and over and repeat and feel good about what their work is, and they're in good shape there.
And they don't like conflict. We know that they avoid it. They don't want to have to say no. That they want that relationship to be stronger. So don't put them in something where they have to be very confrontational.
That's a great point, Liz. We talked about it earlier. When folks who are good at a job get moved up into a management position, they go from building widgets to teaching others how to build widgets and holding those people accountable. As an S, it's very difficult for them to hold people accountable because a lot of times they have to say, no, you can't take this day off because it's the end of the month and we have things that have to get done. Or, no, you can't have those extra benefits because you haven't been on the staff long enough or whatever it happens to be. And it just gets to a point where it's prickly and they don't like that. So that's difficult for management. So when you're coaching those folks, they can be successful with good coaching, but it's going to be out of their comfort zone.
Well, and they're going to have support for those difficult conversations. So, we were talking about customer service and customer service managers. That's the perfect example of where you're saying they're promoted into that manager position. So I think that's perfect as an example of, be careful if you're going to promote them because that might not be within their skill ability.
That's right.
Without training.
That's right. Training and coaching. A lot of things can be helped with that. And of course, they like routines. So anything that has to where that person would have to be spontaneous or their schedule isn't the same thing from week to week, that's just going to freak them out. So put S's in position where they're into a normal set of routines.
Yeah, definitely. Now the C's, we have some personal experience right here within your office with C's, high C's. And so when we first look at it, let's just start with accountants and CFOs because that's our obvious one. We start thinking about, hey, those people have to be out there with the numbers. They have to be responsible for it. So that's the logical place that we jump to for a C. But there are some others that aren't so logical always.
Sure. So doctors and surgeons typically can be high C's. They like to think about the body as a process, and when I fix this, X happens, or when I look at this blood work, then I see these trends, or this thing might be out of whack. So they make for that, and so we talk about doctors with poor bedside manner a lot of times, and it's not really they have poor bedside manner. They're just trying to focus on your situation as a process. They're trying to fix, as opposed to developing a relationship, especially when you're talking about surgeons.
Yes.
And those guys who you'll see for pre-op, you won't see them during the operation because you'll be asleep, and then post-op, and then you're out.
That's very true. So we also run into, you think about engineers and architects, if I can kind of put that together, because as you think about the structural side, you think about the analytical side, the measurement, all those things have to do with staying within a boundary, measuring, preciseness. That hits pretty much those engineers and architects.
That's right. And they're trying to make things as efficient as possible. So where's the best way to put this duct on the left side of the room, right side of the room to make sure I'm maximizing the energy efficiency of the unit that I have outside? And I'm just thinking, dude, just put a ceiling fan in. I mean, it's not that big a deal. But they're all about, efficiencies and pathways. And just the way their mind works is just because I'm an I don't understand it, but I'm always fascinated by it. They're always looking for the most efficient way to do things. It's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So our other one is mechanics. So if you think about how a mechanic works, you've got to know the structure. You've got to know how for example, an auto mechanic. So you've got to think about how the car works. There's pieces and parts that go in there precisely. If you don't put it right way, you're going to have trouble down the road. So those home mechanics that don't quite understand it all the way, who might be a high I, what's this bolt? Don't need that one.
That's right. Took it all apart, and I've got 7 pieces left. I don't need it. It's extra. And so, you see this a lot in children as they're growing up when they're tinkering with things like with Legos or other things like that. That's the kind of start of saying, that could be a career path for them in terms of looking at, okay, how does this work together? And then how does this system fit with this system? Because as you know, C's are all about those systems and how they integrate with one another. So making sure that this lines up with this and this lines up with this. And okay, my transmission going with this side, but I can't have the air conditioner fuse off because that'll do blah, 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 blah. And so that's way over my head.
So with 5 children, you have your own lab you're running. What's showing up as far as watching their styles as you go through that?
Well, I've had 3 take the different styles, and my oldest is a high C. She's a CD, just like my wife. So we'll say that for another podcast. In terms
that would be dealing with conflict.
Yes. So there's always drama, and so I'm the great intercessor, I guess, when it comes
peacemaker.
to yes. I kind of all right, y'all. Go to your separate corners. I'm going to come talk to you, and you come talk to you later. And so.
I guess that takes us off path, but that's really an interesting trail to go down. So anyway, in the C's, you don't want to worry. You don't want to bring somebody in who the job's going to require you to be warm and spontaneous.
That's right.
I'm putting 2 of those together. So why don't you expand on those?
Oh, sure. So from a warm perspective, it's not that they can't be caring, but they're just not going to be the folks that give somebody a hug, sit down and listen, because they're all about the analytics versus the feeling part. And that's, basically when you're dividing that room from outgoing into reserved, and then that people versus task oriented, they're just all about getting that person fixed, not listening to them for empathy, but listening to them for, okay, I know how to fix your problem. If you do this, this, and this, it's good.
Yep.
All right, are you with me? I just wanted to talk to somebody and somebody understand. I understand, and I'm telling you how to fix it. Let's go.
So they're not going to be one that show emotion at all, are they?
Not a lot.
If you need something like that in your job, make sure that you're not getting a C probably for that.
Probably not the best avenue, because then you're going to have somebody. You're just basically going to have that same person come to you later and say, "Well, Sally just didn't understand a word I was saying, and she was trying to fix me, and I didn't need to be fixed. I just wanted to be heard." And so that's a situation that happens a lot of times. People, they're fixers. C's are fixers. And that's great, but sometimes it's not about the fixing. It's just about listening. And that's a skill that they need to work on for sure.
And, it is kind of funny when you think about the C that might be managing a department, and all of a sudden they have the I come in who's crying and all over the place and very emotional. It's just one of those funny, if you just think of the scenario where they're dealing with this going, oh my gosh, just move on. I don't even want to talk to this person.
Yeah, just check your baggage at the door before you come in here. I don't have time for that mess. If it's a process, good. If it's a people problem, go talk to HR. I can't.
So it seems like as we kind of go through this, that it's a wonderful way for people to think through not just the roles people have, but really the behaviors they have. So as they think about that, they may see some of this show up in work, and they can then kind of see, well, oh, they lean towards being this style.
Right. And then from the perspective of looking at a resume and so forth, if someone comes in and they've had teaching experience, or they've been an actor, or they've been this, that, or the other, that might not necessarily relate to the field that they're applying for, then you can say, okay, well, I see a trend here. this looks like an S type, therefore I need to be looking at them for this particular role in our company.
That's a good point. Don't discount it.
That's right. That's right.
Great.
Excellent. Well, that's going to do it for today's show. I'd like to thank Liz Parker for joining me today. Liz,
Thank you.
how can folks get in touch with you?
If they would, I'd love to have an email at liz@ltresults.com or see my website at ltresults.com.
Awesome. All the different things that Liz does for companies are listed there. And so you can sign up for whatever else. You can get a part of her newsletter, all that kind of good stuff. To get in touch with me, visit therapportadvantage.com. If you're interested in finding out what style you are or to get a personality picture of your entire organization.
They should.
It's always good because you got the cool little circle graph and, what are we missing there? I just worked with that.
So cool.
Worked with an organization here in the upstate about, last week, in fact.
Yeah.
And
what happened there? I didn't get to hear.
Oh, it was great. It was great. We worked with them and their leadership team of 7.
That was one of our Vistage groups.
It was. And so we had a big quadrant missing. They had nobody who was a C in their primary dominant spot. So
wow.
had 2 in the Ds. We had 1 I and lots of S's and C blends down there at the bottom. So
interesting.
So talking about process-driven organization, which they are, making sure they have some C's there who can give some of that advice. So
oh, good. Thanks for telling me that. I wanted to know.
Oh, sure. So click on that Rapport Store tab when you get to the website, and then there's a blue Rapport Store link that will take you to the assessment page to find the right one for you. Assessments generally take about 10 to 15 minutes, and they offer tons of insights. There's the basic one is about $13. It gives you 6 pages chock full of stuff, and then they go up from there up to a 50-page document which outlines how you work with others, and then what's your preferred style here versus this, that, and the other. Just all kind of great stuff that I can't get into on this podcast. But as always, our next podcast will be about whatever you email or call us on our SpeakPipe app or we will have some content related to human behavior and unlocking those insights.
Great.
So we're looking forward to it. For my broadcast partner, Liz Parker, this is Alex Swire-Clark saying thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Rapport Advantage podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Join the conversation on Facebook at The Rapport Advantage and follow us on Twitter at Rapport Podcast.